Hello and welcome to TheAIbumMan, and this is part 3 of my summer Q&A, and this should hopefully be the final part. I'm certainly planning for it to be so. So let us crack ahead with the questions. From the Strongboys19, fellow YouTuber, shout out to him, fantastic album reviewer. Which were your first favourite bands since you got into music, and what is your favourite, or who is your favourite lyricist? Well, my favourite bands when I was first getting into music, I've talked about them before, but quickly, bands Busted were one of the very first, and then later bands like Kaiser Chiefs and the Killers. I got more into that sort of indie style of music, but I was also into some classic bands, the Beatles, Queen, ELO, Motorhead, all bands I liked a lot when I was younger. Particularly when I really started to get into music, it was when I started to get into bands like Nickelback, Stayed, Seether, Green Day and My Chemical Romance. Green Day and My Chemical Romance being my favourite bands for a good few years. I've seen both of them live. And I still have a fondness for some of their catalogue. I mean, I still think American Idiot from Green Day is a very strong album. I even like 21st Century Breakdown as well. And My Chemical Romance, I still think the Black Parade is a simply fantastic rock album. I really do. It still holds up to this day, and I still think Danger Days is a piece of crap. There you go. My favourite lyricist? Very easy question. Bob Dylan. I mean, just listen to the lyrics of It's Alright Ma, I'm Only Bleeding, and then listen to the lyrics of Desolation Row, and then listen to the lyrics of Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, and then of Idiot Wind, and then you tell me he's not the greatest damn lyricist the world's ever known. This is a odd question. So from 00 Jets, also known as Superior Reviews, quite infamous among the YouTube reviewing community at the moment, his questions are: why were you not subscribed to my channel? Do you think I am your mentor? You have to admit my listed opinions are right. Okay, that is not a question, it's more of a fact. Why will you not join our small community of reviewers? We will soon take over YouTube. What do you think of my name, Superior Reviews? Do you worship me? What am I to answer these questions? I'll talk briefly on my opinion on Superior Reviews if anyone's interested here. So Superior Reviews is come to prominence for being a reviewer. He doesn't even have many subscribers. He's hardly a big reviewer. He has like 20. But his sort of shtick, his gimmick seems to be that his opinions are right and that everyone else is wrong. And he sort of has a very sort of maybe abrasive style of reviewing, quite different to my own. What, if you like him, cool. I mean, some people made a bit of a big deal about him and gone on about hating him, etc. At the end of the day, I really don't give a damn. If he wants to do his stuff, cool. But not my cup of tea, I have to say. Superior Reviews, he's asked me to subscribe on a number of occasions, and so I'm genuinely not a fan of that reviewing style. Nothing against you personally, just I'm not. This is an interesting question from William Gallimore Talon. How much of an impact do you think David Bowie has made to music over the past 40 years? I mean, it's very difficult to surmise Bowie's epic career over the last 40 years, and I mean, he honestly is one of the most influential artists in rock, pop, and just in music. He really, truly is just one of the figures, the big figures in rock music. He definitely deserves to be alongside Dylan, the Beatles, etc. I mean, he just really was very much a pioneer at what he did, and he covered a lot of genres in his career and a fair few styles of music, and I've always thought of him as sort of the chameleon of rock music. He was always able to adapt to the times and what people wanted at that time period and just deliver it and making it successful, whether that's for good or bad. Like, an example, when it's good, I mean, in the 70s, the early 70s, what did the world want? Glam rock. Glam rock became the big thing. So what did Bowie did? He released freaking Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, the definitive glam rock album, just a step above everything else. As much as other albums like Electric Warrior by T-Rex are great, Ziggy just took everything to a whole new freaking level. And then what else did he do? Aladdin Sane, Diamond Dogs in that type of style, and just owned that genre completely. Later on in the 80s, when dance music was becoming more of a thing, he switched to that type of music, Let's Dance, and became big as a result of that. Personally, I see that as the end of Bowie being interesting. To me, Scary Monsters and Super Creeps was the last interesting Bowie album for quite a long time. I find his 80s period rather dull, rather too commercial, and I don't like using the phrase sellout, but it's almost that sort of period in Bowie's career. Then the 90s has made some more interesting things like Dot Outside, which I think was a collaboration with Brian Eno. It was meant to be part of a trilogy of concert albums. They never finished the trilogy, but that was an interesting album. It's not one of my favourites, Bowie's, but it's interesting. It certainly shows he liked to go in a lot of different directions. I mean, Airflings as well was a decent album from the 90s. And then you get up to present day, 2013, when he came out with The Next Day. What did the world want? They wanted some Bowie's classic 70s sound, but updated, fresh, modern. And that's exactly what he delivered with The Next Day. It was an updated Bowie. It was Bowie for 2013. Bowie truly for the 21st century. And I've always admired Bowie. I think, well, not always actually. At first I hated Bowie. I genuinely just disliked Bowie. But now I don't, obviously. But it did take me a while to get into Bowie. I'm not honestly sure why. I just didn't like his voice, honestly, at first. I just didn't, but now I do. And certainly one of the musicians and artists I respect the most in rock music. From classic rock 2017 or 2017, whatever, who is your favourite movie director and what is your favourite movie by him / interest in a movie question at last. Okay, good question, and this has to be, hands down, Darren Aronofsky. Even though Noah was not great, if you've seen that film, that was had a lot to be desired. I don't know why he decided, oh, let's do a biblical epic after the fascinatingly interesting, nuanced, dark, thrilling The Wrestler and Black Swan, and before that Requiem for a Dream, which is a freaking masterpiece. Jared Leto, just stop making music, just dedicate all your time to acting. And, you know, but now he had to make a film like Noah, which wasn't very good, but still, Black Swan, one of my favourite films of all time, just a masterpiece of directing, of story writing, just creating atmosphere. I really think it's just, as I said, a directing absolute masterclass. Genius film. Don't be put off by its ballet theme, because this is a dark, thrilling film. And yes, and as I said, so my favourite movie by Darren Aronofsky would have to be Black Swan. And also tying this to music a bit, of course, The Wrestler had the freaking fantastic track to it from Bruce Springsteen. What a track. That's one of my favourite Bruce tracks, honestly. From, well, I'm Working on a Dream, that record. Again, such an underrated Bruce album, I always think Working on a Dream. Killer record. And what is my favourite Genesis studio album? This is tough. I'd have to say it's a toss-up between The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway and Nursery Crime. I'd say The Lamb just, but Nursery Crime definitely closely follows it. His last question, in your CDs and vinyl I bought recently for May, you said that you were in Berlin. I'm going to Berlin soon, so what are some record stores you would recommend? I know you said flea markets, but is there anything else? Honestly, I didn't find many great record shops in Berlin, honestly. But what was amazing, honestly, if anyone goes to Berlin, you want vinyl, go to the flea market in the Mauer Park. The Mauer Park flea market is just the single greatest thing for vinyl. Loads of reasonably priced stuff, interesting, and just a shit ton of it. It's just amazing. Seriously recommend it highly. Jackson Kiburius asks what will be a rather short answer. Do you like the Red Hot Chili Peppers? Music Man Freak asks, what would be your order of Dio's greatest to worst albums? Only Dio's 10 studio solo albums. Oh, interesting question. I have to start off by saying I have never listened to Strange Highways or Angry Machines. No, I know, it's awful, but I just honestly haven't. So from greatest to worst, then I wouldn't say any of them are bad, certainly, but the greatest, Holy Freaking Diver. Second, Sacred Heart. Third, The Last in Line. Fourth, Dream Evil. Fifth, Lock Up the Wolves. Sixth, Killing the Dragon. 7, Master of the Moon. And 8, Magic. And this is, I can't rate Strange Highways and Angry Machines, as I've never heard them in their entirety, but I doubt they're gonna really be beating the, I mean, there's the Holy Trilogy of Dio solo albums. It really is Holy Diver, Sacred Heart, The Last in Line. They are the albums any Dio fan, any metal fan really should own. The rest, they're certainly decent and have a lot of great tracks on them, but they're not as consistent as those 3 albums. Name a few metal albums that you love but you think that are underappreciated. I really like this question because there's quite a few metal albums, and I've decided to go for a couple of rock albums as well that I just don't think are appreciated as much either in the artist's catalogue or just overall. One overall and a band album I mentioned quite a lot of times, but Lyricists and that album, the Tom Petitri 2, they are an American one-man project by a guy called Chris Hadcock, and a very interesting progressive metal if you like Tall, Porcupine Tree, sort of Opeth type stuff. Very interesting project and an album that no one ever knows about, so I'd like to highlight that. A couple of albums in artists' catalogues that I don't think get the deserved attention. Motorhead's 1916, easily one of their best studio albums, but no one really ever talks about it in the same breath as Overkill or Ace of Spades, you know, Live, No Sleep to Hammersmith, and you know, the classic albums. And 1916 is freaking amazing, just end to end, one of his best, one of them his best, without doubt. And the Paradise Lost album, Host, often underrated in their catalogue. People tend to think Draconian Times, Gothic, Lost Paradise, but Host, okay, yeah, it's a bit sort of a poppier, more sort of almost 80s synthy direction it goes in, but it's still freaking a great album, such a catchy album. I'm more of a rock album than metal, but God and Guns by Leonard Skinner, without a doubt one of the most underappreciated albums I've ever come across. I adore this album. In fact, I think it's Leonard Skinner's best album ever. I prefer this even to the Live One More from the Road album, to Pronounced, Second Helping. I mean, they're all great albums, but to me, God and Guns, even though it's from, yeah, I know it's Blasphemy, it's not from the original lineup, it's from the post-Crash lineup, but there just isn't a bad track on it. There just is not a freaking bad track. Just end to end, they're all basically 10 out of 10 songs. Just amazing. Listen, if you want to hear something from it, hear the title track, God and Guns, and I'm Still Unbroken. What a track that is. Another album that I think a lot of rock and metal fans are very mean to, The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. I mentioned it a little bit before, but really, I mean, if you look past all the emo-y crap and fans behind it and all of that shit, it's actually a good rock album. Like, I'm not saying people have, you know, because I have a lot of attachment to it, as it was one of the first heavier albums I got into. I know that sounds quite funny, like it was heavy, lol, 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 they're not. But for me at that time, they were heavier than Nickelback. I think we can all agree there. And songs like Dead, I mean, what a riff that song has. Teenagers, Killer, Black Parade, yeah, okay, it's a bit overplayed now. There's just really Mama. It's a very interesting song, actually. It's quite a progressive song. And I think people should just be a bit more open to the Black Parade. I think it's unfairly dismissed. Another album, Baroness's Yellow and Green, an album that, I mean, I think it should always be put in lists of some of the greatest metal albums. It's just end to end, basically perfect. It's phenomenal. And there's some Baroness fans, oh, it's not sludgy as blue or red. I don't give a shit, it's amazing. Take My Bones Away, yeah, just take them. And lastly, Black Sabbath's Dehumanizer. Dehumanizer is amazing. I mean, just I on its own as an album would just, that would already be an amazing album. The fact that it has other tracks except for I is just, it really is. Computer God. I think, you know, people always talk about, oh, Mob Rules, Heaven and Hell, yeah, Dear Sabbath. Dehumanizer was really good as well, you know, I mean, really, really good. It's heavier. It's more like The Devil You Know by Heaven and Hell, which of course was a supergroup, which was basically Dear Sabbath on Dehumanizer, with Vinny Appice on drums instead of Bill Ward, but it's still Butler, Iommi and Dio. And yeah, it sounds more like that. It's a bit heavier, more like, you know, Atom and Evil, Bible Black. That was a great track. Yeah. There's some. Okay, from Dag, Soul-Eyed Blue. Glad you're back, man. Well, whatever you do, don't feed the trolls anymore. It's definitely not worth you or anybody's time. Oh, but I like feeding the trolls. That series is actually, I do have a planned episode for it. I know some people have been asking me to do it, and it's been a long time. But it's going to get a name change, I've decided, because it does kind of conflict too much with Cute Fuzzy Weasel's fantastic Feeding the Trolls series. It's infinitely better than mine. and I don't want people to think that I was trying to steal his name. I genuinely thought of it without knowing about his channel at all. So I'm going to change the name of the series out of respect to his infinitely superior series. But there is going to be a couple more. I mean, it's coming to its end. It's definitely coming to its end. It was never a series that was going to last forever, but I certainly think it has a couple of episodes left in it. And also, would like to see a live album special once in a while. There's plenty of classics to go around, of course. And curious about your thoughts on California Breed and Rival Sons' latest. I probably should cover more live albums. I mean, I've never been as big on live albums as I have on studio albums. To me, a studio album really is just a band can really go all out. They can do loads of things they can't do in a live atmosphere. Then to me, I've always seen a live show as the best thing about a band. When I listen to a band I like, the first thing I want to do is I want to go and see them live. That to me is just the ultimate thing. So I don't know why I've never had much of an attachment of live albums, but there's certainly a lot I do like. I mean, I should cover stuff like Strange in the Night by UFO. Michael Schenker's guitar player on that blows my mind. Live and Dangerous by Thin Lizzy, even if it's practically a studio album. Live Killers by Queen, my favourite Queen album. Worldwide Live by the Scorpions, Live Era by GNR. In general, though, I am not massive on live albums, but there's certainly some I definitely should cover. And a more recent one I want to, Universal by Anathema. That was an amazing live album. California Breed and Rival Sons, well, Rival Sons, that's one of my albums of the year. I gave that a 9.5 out of 10. Check out my full review on my channel if you haven't already. And California Breed, I will be sharing my thoughts on that soon. The only thing I will say is a lot better than I expected. Definitely better than I expected. Pamela KD, I think that's how I say the name, I'm not sure. Her question is, my favourite band is the old Guns N' Roses, but I never found a band again what makes so great music. Have you got any tips for me? What can I listen to? Well, there really are many, many freaking awesome bands out there, aside from the almighty G&R. But some bands I definitely recommend checking out for a Guns fan will be some of the bands that influenced Guns N' Roses. Things like Hanoi Rocks. They were a Finnish sort of glam metal type band. Michael Monroe, massive influence on Axl Rose. He kind of wanted to be Michael Monroe. Aerosmith 70s stuff, Joe Perry's playing, massive influence on Slash. T-Rex as well. I mean, look at the album cover of T-Rex's The Slider and the hat Mark Bolan's wearing back in the 70s, very similar to Slash's hat. And I mean, they even cover Beak McKean, I've never known how to say that song, on the Spaghettians, that even though the cover's not great, the original is very interesting. While T-Rex is very different to Guns N' Roses, I definitely think it's worth checking out. If you want more bands in that sort of Guns N' Roses, almost sort of hair glam metal vein, definitely check out bands like Poison. Open Up and Say R would be an album I'd recommend there. Skid Row, the first album, the debut. Motley Crue, maybe something like Too Fast for Love. You might like as well. They're sort of not too dissimilar to GNR though. GNR, they're the best. From Jamie Hinton, out of curiosity, are you a fan of Fleetwood Mac? I can't say I know much Fleetwood Mac, but I've heard of the Peter Green stuff. I like them. When it gets to the Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks period of Rumours, Rumours are alright. I'm not really big into that period. If I was going to get Fleetwood Mac, I really think Peter Green, because his guitar playing is just exceptional. Oh, Jamie Hinton also asks, who's your favourite guitarist of all time? I think I've mentioned this on earlier part, but Joe Bonamassa. Definitely Joe Bonamassa. I saw him live, greatest guitarist I've ever seen live, and honestly one of the greatest guitarists I've just ever heard play. This is another question from Andrew Johnston. Okay, his question is, how can you say you won't listen to Blink-182? Your old favourite band was Green Day, and you also like Nirvana. So how can you not like Blink-182? It's not humanly possible. Well, yeah, of course it is humanly possible, because I hate freaking Blink-182. I've always hated Blink. And, like Nirvana. I've never had Blink compared to Nirvana. Blink are pop punk, whereas Nirvana are the, pioneers of grunge. I know loads of people that like Nirvana and hate Blink. In fact, all the people I know that like Nirvana hate Blink. I don't know anyone who likes Blink. I agree with the Green Day, yeah, they're not too dissimilar. But when it comes to Green Day, the era I've always liked is more their Let's Try and Be the Who era, with 21st Century Breakdown, of course, American Idiot, when they decided to do some rock operas. If you listen to American Idiot, there's a lot of Who influence there, a lot of Tommy Quadrophenia influence. When it comes, I like some of their pop punk stuff, definitely, Dookie is a good album, but in general, their pop punk stuff was never the stuff I got into. I got into the rock stuff, the rock opera stuff, and God, the guy whatever the Blink-182 guy, his voice is so freaking whiny. Billy Joe Armstrong's voice, at least, is not as whiny as it. It's the whiniest voice I've ever heard outside of Scott Weiland, of course. Aaron Stewart asks, if your favourite band is GNR, would you say you're Team Axl or Team Slash if you had to pick? Team Slash, Axl's a prick. Okay, last couple of questions. I'll try and get through them quite quickly. From Luigi Garcia 642, what do you think of Journey's first 2 albums with Steve Perry? Would you review them? Honestly, I've never heard them. I only really know Escape from Journey. What do you think of Kiss's original lineup and Ace Frehley's playing? I have to say I dislike Kiss. I like the odd song, Love Gun, Detroit Rock City, Rock and Roll All Night. He's a decent guitarist. I personally like Paul Stanley. He's probably my favourite. That's only because I have one of his signature guitars, not just because it's a freaking cool guitar and it sounds epic. But yeah, to me, Kiss were nothing special except for the makeup, and if I want makeup, I'll go for Alice Cooper or Arthur Brown any day. From Grawman67 is the last question. Okay, also about the death metal growl/snarl vocals, which talks about in the last part, check that out if you haven't. I really agree with you on that one. I used to not really like the vocal style when I was younger because I felt way overused to me. However, I came to appreciate and even like the style when used either sparingly or appropriately. A major stepping stone to me liking the style was listening to Def's albums. It really turned my opinion around. I'm trying to get into some heavy bands that are in the Def genre and beyond. Any more suggestions to ease me in like Def did? Great video. I would say Opus Blackwater Park, hands down, is a great album to ease you into the genre, particularly for like progressive rock. At the Gates, Slaughter the Soul, more accessible melodic death metal album, really one of the very few melodic death metal bands I really like, and I love At the Gates, they're killer. Especially as you can actually understand what the vocalist is saying. And Winter Sun's Time One, more of some melodic symphonic Finnish death band. I found them quite easy to get into, especially as they blend in clean vocals. There's some suggestions. Anyway, my time's about to run out my camcorder. So this has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching, comment, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the Q&A and hope you asked some questions. Next time around, probably around about Christmas, I tend to for my third year anniversary will be this year. So, yeah, as I said, long live rock and roll.